first. Tina Traster of the Rockland Business Journal, good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay. Thought you lost me there.
No, we have, I got 4 or 5 lines here, and every once in a while I get confused as to who's on what. No, I keep saying who's on first, what's on second.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't know who's on third.
Hey, good for you. Good for you. I bet you don't know the right fielder's name.
I bet you're right.
Because they never mentioned it. All right, anyway, you are from the Rockland Business Journal, an amazing, almost probing. Somebody was telling me about, who I know, checks your because they heard about it on the radio, checks the internet for your publication quite recently. I mean, quite frequently is what I meant. You don't have to wait for once a week publication. It updates all the time.
That's right. That's the benefit of being online. We're fast, we're nimble.
Yeah.
And late on Friday evening, we broke the story that Lucy Redzaposky, the tourism and economic development czar in the county, is leaving her post.
I didn't see that. I didn't see your. Did you email that out?
That is in the email blast that we sent out late yesterday evening.
So you said she's leaving her post?
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and that's a big. She's touched a lot of corners of Rockland in her almost I think 4 years since she's been here.
She's gotten lots of accolades from the county executive for the work she's done too.
She's been very energetic. She has, really elevated a lot of cultural institutions, nonprofits. I know that I think anybody who is in the tourism business has worked with her in these 4 years. But I think that her departure raises some interesting questions and opportunities. One, of course, her shoes will be tough to fill, and apparently the job application process is starting this week. But I think more importantly, I think it raises a couple of issues. So, tourism and economic development, one, I really think that's more than one job. I think that tourism itself is such an opportunity. Everybody worries that that Rockland is the pass-through county when it certainly doesn't need to be. And I just wonder going forward if the county shouldn't split these two responsibilities in two and, put somebody in charge of economic development who comes from the academic side of economic development, meaning, an economist, meaning people who have skills with planning, town planners or county planners or people who've come from think tanks. I think that Rockland is in this critical place right now, and that what we do next is really going to matter in terms of our planning. And I just think that Lucy's departure. If I were sitting in the county executive's office, I'd be saying, well, what do we do next, and how do we ramp this up so that it's not just one energetic person in charge of these two incredibly important functions, but rather how do we look at these two entities separately and maybe really give them the professionalism that they really require. Any thoughts from you guys?
I'm not in the business of running county government, so I can't even possibly say how they should really do that or not. Just the idea that Lucy's not going to be in that position, I know, or I suspect, that the county executive is going to really be on the idea that those will be hard shoes to fill, and who he chooses next will be very important.
Yes.
What was the name of the woman who had it under? She did some shows here.
Heather Duke was there for a long time ago. Who was there after Heather?
She became very.
Oh yes, I know who you're talking about. C.J. Miller. C.J. Miller.
Closely associated with the radio station, but her that position when C.J. had it was much more defined. It wasn't. It didn't embrace as much as Tina was just saying as that particular job does right now.
You look at the towns, right? We know that at least a couple of the towns have either appointed an economic development person or are thinking about it. Okay, but let's think about what the skill set should be. If you're talking about economic development, it shouldn't be somebody who's worked in communications or because they can run a business that qualifies them to look forward and come up with plans to figure out how Rockland County is going to move forward. Economic development is as a skill set. It's an academic, scientific skill set. And all I'm saying is something, I think, for officials to contemplate is if we're going to create these positions, if we're going to create these councils where we're taking a look at our economic development, our economic viability, how we maximize tourism, then I think that we should be appointing people who can quantifiably justify their positions and who have the background and the skill set to prove that they've been competent in this field. Because economic development is like a new buzzword, and it's a new, it's relatively new in terms of the way towns and the county are thinking about progress. But I just think that it's kind of like you wouldn't assign somebody to the police department unless they've had specific training. And I think that economic development should be treated the same way. That's my thought for the day.
So are you applying?
No, I'm a little busy. I've got my hands full for sure. No, I just think it's a really serious thing. And George Holman has intimated that Clarkstown is thinking about creating a position for economic development, and
Orangetown did the same thing recently.
Yes, but that the person in that role essentially came from communications,
which is it's not a bad thing necessarily, but
economic development is we all depend on it. Our taxes depend on it. The viability, the vitality of the county. It's an important position. Lucy held a very important position, and she shined at what she did. But I think her leaving presents an opportunity for the county to, I think, split the job in two. Let one person focus on tourism, which in and of itself really is a full-time job, especially if we're trying to elevate all these Rockland entities. And then economic development itself, I mean, is certainly, I think, a second or a separate set of responsibilities to try to figure out how we balance. There's a strong desire here in this county, town by town, village by village, to preserve a lot of what we have, and that's fine, so long as we have somebody who can handle smart development.
Yeah, but when you've pledged to cut the county's workforce, as Ed Day has pledged and has done, and then you go and hire two people for a job that one person was doing it. I mean, I'm not siding with Ed on this, but it's just a matter of fact. You imagine how much heat he would take to hire two where one was.
But if he can show that position brings in $20 million of revenue, and you're only spending $200,000 or whatever, I'm making numbers up, yeah, of course. But if he can show that,
yeah, I mean, I think, I think that there's exactly the justification is the person involved in tourism and the person involved in economic development both have. But this is what I'm saying. Both have. First of all, they both have a direct correlation to, as I think Jeff just said, revenue generation. And not only that, but these jobs should be quantifiable. There should be one should be able to see, the results in a job like this. It should be measured. So I don't know. I think there's value here, and I think that there's opportunity, and I think especially at this seminal moment when the county at some it needs a boost, right? It needs to figure out how to deal with all of these large signature properties that are either for sale or need to be developed. I mean, this is a real critical moment, and you need to invest to make something flourish. So
From a business
think,
perspective, you're right, but the legislature will come down on him like buzzards.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
I
mean,
think so.
I think that a good argument can be made that these particular entities, tourism and economic development, are at the heart of revenue generation and economic health. So, it's just my thought. I mean, nobody wants to see taxes rise, but there's also a correlation, which is if we don't have, industry, if we don't have, the hotels aren't full, if we don't have a good tourism base, if we can't capture all the people who we're going to be losing to Orange and Sullivan counties, then in essence, our taxes are higher. So we lose on the other end anyway. One of the things that they like to say every State of the Union, or every time they kind of, celebrated Lucy's position, is that this year the average taxpayer paid less than $585 because of tourism dollars. Okay, and that statistic through her reign has been Lucy's reign has been pretty constant. So even there, if you lose that edge, you would notice $585 more in your taxes. I know I would.
But yeah.
So I mean it's that, but the key thing here is qualifications. Economic development is not just because somebody knows how to run a business or because, it shouldn't be part of the patronage mill. It should be a really skilled person who can quantify and measure their results.
Very interesting. I still say you should apply.
All right. You know what? Maybe I will.
All right.
All right.
I'm behind you. Tina Traster, Rockland Business Journal, just to access what's on there. And again, every day there's something new on there. You go on